How's it going, everybody? It is the evening of December 6th, 2017, and I figured I would just do a quick summary of today's events on my transit home from work here before I get back to researching when I get back up to the command center. Anyway, so there's a couple interesting things that went on today. The first being the police, the law enforcement activity today in Washington, D.C. Now, we heard some murmurs about local law enforcement and federal agencies such as, FBI, ATF, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, local law enforcement for court-authorized law enforcement action. So immediately, you have to wonder, does this have anything to do with the sealed indictments? Does this have anything to do with any of the major figures that our research has focused on in all of these scandals over the past year that have been uncovered? It's up in the air, but you always have to take a look at these things because they aren't exactly what they seem, not always at least, right? And that's what we've come to learn, especially me being new to all of this within the past year. I understand that now, so it's always worth taking a look to see the hidden movements beneath the surface in some otherwise average news. So the news today was that, at first we weren't sure what the law enforcement action was, what the motive was, what were there arrests, were there raids, what was going on. A few hours after the initial news agency tweeted out that there was action taking place, they did clarify that it was gang related in terms of confiscation of firearms, gang members, things of that nature. But that still doesn't necessarily mean that nothing is going on that's within our sphere of research. So for instance, something that we have to take into consideration is, of course, are any of these arrests today, if there were indeed arrests, and I imagine there would be, were any of these arrests today focused on anyone involved with the MS-13? Now, of course, the MS-13 we have previously identified as being involved in a kind of overlapping in a number of things that we've covered in the past, being a possibility involvement with Seth Rich, is MS-13 being utilized by certain entities as the contract killers, essentially? Are they the disposable foot soldiers for the DNC? But, it's not even so much the DNC, because again, I always say this, but evil does not abide by party lines. So, these foot soldiers, essentially, they're going to be coming over into the country, exploiting our current immigration system, so whether they're here legally, illegally, it does not matter. Most of the times these people are going to be here illegally. They're either going to be radicalized, after they get here, but their parents were probably coming from these other countries, and well, this is besides the point. The point is that MS-13, we know what they're about, but we also know what else they get utilized for on occasion. So we have to take a look and keep an eye out to see if any of these arrests are in any way connected with MS-13. Number two, I just saw something interesting. I didn't see many people talking about it, and this could be nothing. This is just me speculating before I get home to actually do the proper research myself. But I saw something today about a Washington, D.C. Funeral home that was under some fire today in Washington, D.C. for apparently defrauding individuals that had lost loved ones and used their funeral home for the services. I had heard that it was essentially some defrauding, insurance fraud, things of that nature, being disingenuous. But these are my thoughts, right? One person had explained, going onto the property at this funeral service, or this funeral home, excuse me, it actually stank of ammonia, which is pretty disgusting. I mean, especially given the circumstances of what other reason do you visit a funeral home for other than, if you lost a loved one, and that's probably the last thing you want to see is just negligence, ignorant, any of that at a funeral home, let alone crime. And a scam artist defrauding. But my question is this: what else did anybody utilize that funeral home for? Any other services, being as they were not properly licensed to conduct the services that they were conducting? I mean, to be in a funeral, to be in that field of work, it's awfully specific. I don't know. I don't know why you go into any line of work and don't get the proper credentials to do so, although I suppose that there's some underhanded motivations. But I mean, it's a funeral home. Why not just get the proper licensing, And my question is this: did anyone take advantage of that funeral home? for, you know, any of their services. We know that they're not exactly abiding by the law, so what else have they done? I'd like to get a glimpse into, you know, maybe some people that have passed through that funeral home, or maybe people who have had loved ones there, or, you know, maybe it's not even a matter of loved ones. Perhaps it's not bringing loved ones there. Perhaps it's, you know, perhaps it's bringing some definitely not loved ones there. Who knows? Maybe it's just a typical fraud case, but I figured I would voice that to see if anyone else has any other information or was interested in looking into that with me. And I'm definitely going to be looking into that, and I'll provide some updates later on tonight and tomorrow in regards to what I find. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your night, and happy hunting.